Awesome people, inspiring stories, the Living the Dream podcast. Welcome back to the Living the Dream podcast. I'm your host, Matt Scaletti, and you will not believe who I have on the show today. This is Cierra Runge. I love saying that, Runge. And this is insane. She is a United States Olympian and gold medal winner. Yes, that is right. U.S. Olympian gold medal winner. Cierra won a gold medal in the 4x200 freestyle relay in the 2016 Rio Olympic Games. How freaking awesome is it? I can't believe I'm reading this. She was born and raised in Eastern PA, which is the wrong side of the state. Pittsburgh is the right side of the state, but that's okay. We'll let it slip. In 2013, she won 4 medals in the World Junior Swimming Championships. 2014, in the Pan Pacific Swimming Championships, she got second in the 400-meter freestyle, fourth in the 1,500-meter freestyle, fifth in the 800-meter freestyle. And then in 2016, she dropped the bomb and won a gold medal for the United States of America. Cierra, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on.
Me and you both. What a fun, this is just going to be a great conversation. And let's just start. We know what you've accomplished. We'll get there. Clearly, we want to hear about the Olympics, but let's take it back to your background. And have you always been swimming? And just talk about your upbringing and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so growing up, I lived in Eastern PA, and it's a small little country town. I grew up on 2 acres, running around like chickens with our heads cut off with my older brother and my younger sister. We were always doing something growing up. And my parents always said to us, pretty much, they were like, okay, whatever you want to do, just tell us what you want to do and we'll make it work. No matter what, we'll figure it out. And my family also always watched the Olympics. And whenever we would have it on, we would just leave it on. Like, it never turned off. And so when I was 4 years old, I was watching the 2000 games, and I would be, interested in gymnastics, interested in track and field. Like, I'd just be like, da, 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 and swimming would come on, and it was just like glued to the TV, and my mom was just like, weird. Like, it's swimming. There's people going back and forth in a pool. Like, I don't understand that obsession, but I was just glued. And my mom said that I pointed to the TV and looked at her and go, Mommy, I'm going to do that one day. And she was like, yeah, okay, we got to get you in lessons first. Like, you don't even know how to swim yet.
Oh my goodness. 4 years old.
Yeah, 4 years old. But I've always been obsessed with the water. From as soon as my belly button fell off, I was pretty much going in. So my parents had to tie a pool noodle around my waist because I would just jump into my grandparents' pool without thinking. And they were like, yeah, you can't swim yet. Like, what are you doing? So I've pretty much been swimming my entire life. I played soccer for like a hot second. But pretty much my entire life has just been swimming. And it's been awesome. So I started swimming at my local YMCA, and I swam there until I was about 10. And then I transferred to a club team. And then when I was 15, transferred to my second club team. And that's where I started finding the most success in my sport. And I rode that one out until the Olympic Games. So.
And when did you know I'm getting pretty good at this? I mean, did you have some confidence at 5-6 years old, or did it take into your, early?
I don't think I realized that I could actually be a part of a national team until like I was 17. I made a junior national team here and there, but I was a sprinter then. And then my coach was like, okay, we're going to transition you to distance events. And I was like, okay. He was like, you're 6'4" at 15. Like, we're putting you in distance events. Yeah. I'm huge. I've been huge since I was about 13. I've been like 6'3" since I was like 13 or 14.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So like, can you imagine a 13, 14-year-old 6'4" swimmer swimming next to the other 13, 14? No. I was just all arms and legs though. My goodness. So my coach pretty much looked at my body type and said, "You're long, you're lanky, you can pull out of water. Let's put you in distance." And that is when my success turned. And that's when I started making my national teams, winning medals, and doing all that good stuff. And ultimately, what led me to the 2016 games and accomplished my 4 years old goal in life. So
Sure
it kind of came full circle there.
And what? So you're getting better at a young age. You're long. You're tall. How much of it, your success, at least early on, before the Olympic Games, was coaches, family, people around you, and how much of it was just Cierra pushing forward no matter what?
Yeah. Growing up, it's always been a partnership between my parents, my coaches, and myself, because you can't have one section pulling one harder than another. So if I was pulling harder than my coach and my parents, it wouldn't have happened. If my coach was pulling harder than I wanted and my parents wanted, wouldn't have happened. If my parents pulled harder than my coach or I wanted, wouldn't have happened. So it was kind of an equal balance, equal partnership between my parents, myself, and my coaches. But my parents are the reason that I am who I am today. They're the reason I got to where I got today. They gave up everything to help me pursue my dream, help my sister, help my brother pursue their dreams. My mom would drive an hour and a half, us one way, an hour and a half to Baltimore for us to train. We would sit in the car all day, sit in a Starbucks. We called it the Pramper. So we had a Prius, but we used it as a camper, so we called it Pramper. But we would spend days in that Prius, days. But we did it, and my dad worked his butt off to make sure that we could do it. My mom did what she needed to do to get us to where we needed to be, and so it's like I wouldn't be where I am today without my parents. So I commend them with everything. I'm just like, they're a godsend, and if they would have said no, that's too far, no, that's too much, I wouldn't be who I am today, I don't think.
I love that. I think that's so cool, and how awesome of them to just support you and the family and your brother and sister the whole time. Also, everybody listening or watching, Cierra is so humble. I mean, you just pass the buck to your coaches and your family. And we were talking before we recorded that the Olympics you're still the same you. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's so cool. Okay, so we'll get into the craziness start here. Yeah. So 2012, you're in the Olympic trials, and this is just based on me Googling you and seeing what your life's all about. Can you talk about, I read that you were 25th and 26th, and I'm just wondering, you're clearly young at that point. Was that a good thing for you? Was that not a good result? What were your thoughts at that point?
I think that the swims in themselves, they were what they were. Obviously, being 25th and 26th at 16 is awesome. And it was my first trials, first big meet. I remember walking out from the ready room. So how they do it is there's a back pool where everybody warms up, and then you go to a ready room, and then you walk up and out onto the pool deck, the Olympic trials pool deck. And everybody told me, all my teammates, they were like, don't look up, don't do it, don't look up. And I was like, that's weird. Why wouldn't I look up? Like, this is Olympic trials. Why wouldn't I do? I like kept my eyes glued to the deck until I got to where we were about to walk out to our lanes, and I went, I almost peed myself. Like, it was so intense, so intense. I walked down and I was like, what? I have never, that was the biggest meet by far and away. And you'll hear this from a bunch of people, but Olympic trials, swimming Olympic trials is probably the most intense swim meet you'll ever take part in, ever. Which is true, because when I got to the games, it was like, all right, cool, we've done this, we're good, we made it. Like, wow. Yeah, so trials is super stressful. And going through that at 16 is just another added thing. And so all things considered, I was really happy with the results, and I made my first junior national team. and got to go to Hawaii. So that was pretty cool.
That's
so
very
I was
cool.
pretty pumped on all levels on that one, to be from Olympic trials, go to Hawaii, and make a team. So
That's very cool. Not many people at 16 are flying to Hawaii for
yeah, right, for swimming.
competition. You know, I was going to wait to ask you, but since you brought up the intensity of walking out there, can you tell us? I love talking to competitors and just finding out that moment before the gun goes off.
Yeah.
What is in Cierra's mind? Is it different every time? Is it the same every time? What's going on
Yeah.
there?
So it's pretty much the same every time. Obviously, you have to roll the punches on what your environment gives you, who's behind your lane, what's going on, how the timing is. But it was pretty much the same. And how I viewed it, I mean, obviously it was the Olympic Games, so I was like a nervous Nelly. But I warmed up the same that I always do. I put on my suit, the same timing. I did everything that I had practiced throughout my career. It was just textbook throughout. And then I was lucky enough to have 3 other girls in there with me. I was a part of a relay, because if it was individual, I would have been like, but I got to have 3 of my really, really, really good friends in there with me. And so we were, and I think 2 out of the 4 were veterans for the games. And so we were snapping pictures, we were laughing. Like, I'm pretty sure everybody else was like, what is USA doing? Because we're like just creating havoc in the ready room, just like goofing off. And it just released all the tension and the nerves. And so I was last on the prelims relay, which meant that I was the anchor, which meant that, okay, China's over there and that country's over there, and like, oh, okay. And so diving in, I was like, oh no, oh no, 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 no. Oh yeah. And then I remembered, it's just another 50-meter pool. I've done this a million times. I know what I'm doing. And so I didn't let it get to my head, which was really good. But yeah, it's pretty much every race I've done, every race I do, it's the same setup, same warm up, same suit up, same pretty much routine, everything that I've done my entire career. So.
I mean, that makes a ton of sense. Then it's just like instincts and your training took over as soon as the gun goes off.
Yeah.
So, okay, so just real quick, because I just find this fascinating. In 2014, you're in the Pan Pacific Swimming Championships in Australia. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the 400-meter freestyle was an insanely awesome event. I'm assuming one of your best events.
Yeah.
And Katie Ledecky, well, actually, I'll let you tell the story. So how did you feel during that? And do you want to tell everybody like what happened and how you felt after?
Sure. So it was my first international meet as a national team member, and I was swimming the 400 freestyle, and Katie was my other teammate in that final. And so we all walk out, and Katie was having an incredible summer that summer. And I remember diving in. We were swimming, and it wasn't until about the 3rd 100 that it really kicked in on what was going on. Not that I was on autopilot, but I kind of just like went. And so that 3rd 100 was like, okay, kick it into higher gear. And then I started looking around to see where I was, and I realized Katie was gone. She was gone. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to swim my own race, because at some point you can't swim another person's race. You have to swim yours. But then I could see on the other side of her that there was nobody else on the other side of her. And I was like, oh, like I have a chance here. And so we hit that last 100 and the last 50. It was pretty much just Katie, and then it was me, and I think it was another Australian. And so Katie won, and I think it was some record. I think it was a world record. I'm sure it was. And then I got second, my first international medal. But it was just incredible, because every time you swim against Katie, something incredible happens. It doesn't matter if it's, if it's a world record, if it's not, it's just like incredible to swim next to her, just because it's such a force to be reckoned with. Like you look at it and it's just awe-inspiring. But there was races at that meet where like I would be finishing a flip turn going into my last 50 and like pyrotechnics and cheers and like music was going off and I'd be like, Katie finished. I'm coming in, I'll get in.
I love that. So basically, she had to set a world record just to beat you is the bottom line.
Yeah, God, I wish that was the case. But Katie is one of those people that she will set a world record whether there's somebody chasing her or not. She's one of those. It's awesome. It's so cool to see.
Well, and it's so cool. We were talking a little bit before we recorded that it seems like there's such a mutual respect there. And I'm often saying on this podcast, you are the average of the people that you surround yourself with. And it seems like in your case, that couldn't be more true. Do you feel hanging out with Katie and other great swimmers that it just levels you up?
Yeah, growing up, it's always been finding your people. That's how it's been for my entire life, is you always operate better, you always function better when you're around your people. And so these are my people. These elite athletes are my people. We are like-minded. We physically, push ourselves, mentally push ourselves. We all have a common goal. We all have a common lifestyle. So it's our people. It's funny because you can be here, you can be in Pennsylvania, you can be California. You will always have that group of collective people just because of this camaraderie that you find in this sport.
I love that. I think that's powerful for anybody, for any takeaway. If it's in business, if you're around your people that are playing the business game higher than you, be around them and they'll just level you up.
It's all about finding your people, and it's all about who makes you better, who elevates you, who, doesn't bring out your worst, brings out your best.
I love that. And I'm sorry, Cierra, but I can't wait any longer. We got to hear about the Olympics. I know everybody wants to hear. I'm excited. By the way, for those on YouTube, I got my USA shirt on. I'm representing. Should have brought the flag. I should have had to be waving the flag. Okay, so walk us through, because honestly, I don't know a lot, and I'm sure a lot of listeners and viewers don't know exactly how it works. How do you get into the Olympics, and when did you find out? And kind of tell us that story.
Yeah, so for swimming, it is at Olympic trials, we have a meet about a month and a half out from the games. So it's super right up the timeline. But that way we get the best team we possibly can and set us up for the best results as possible for representing our country. So when you go to trials, top 2 individual make it, top 6 for a relay make it. So if you're in a relay event, such as the 200 freestyle, top 6 and up make it. If you're in just a strictly individual race, like the 400 freestyle, top 2 make it.
Okay.
So you got to be top 2 or top 6 in the nation, which is pretty intense in and of itself, because the United States is one of the deepest talent pools of swimming out there. It's insane. We have I think it's the top 25 or 50 rank make the FINA A cut, which is equivalent of making a international meet for some other countries. So we have talent, everywhere. And that's what makes it so intense, is that everybody is fighting for the spot. There's black horses that come out and they, there's somebody that you wouldn't even think of and they come out of nowhere and they break through and they make the team and it's like, oh. So it's so stressful, but it's so intense and it's so much fun at the same time. It's just this whirlwind of emotions. So that's how you make it. And then pretty much you are told, so actually I have this picture actually I wanted to show you.
Yeah, let's see.
So this is when I made the Olympics. That was my facial expression.
Oh my God.
So that's when I looked up and I saw my place and saw that I had made the team. And that's when I knew. And that was by far and away one of the coolest moments of my life. I had to blink. And then my teammate was 2 lanes over from me. And we army crawled to each other and celebrated with each other and gave hugs. So it was just an incredible feeling to make the Olympic team. And then from there, I think we went home for a week, back to your clubs and just to get everything settled. And then we were whisked away to training camp. So we were in San Antonio for a while, and then we went to Atlanta for a while. And that's where if you see the carpool karaoke, that was when we were in Atlanta.
I wanted to bring that up. I saw that.
Yeah.
For anybody listening, YouTube, I'm trying to think what the 2016
carpool karaoke, it should come up.
Hilarious.
It was so much fun. We had a blast doing it. We had it was like 2 cars running at the same time, and we all got broken up into groups, and then they just stuck a bunch of GoPros in it and then just like told us to go wild for like an afternoon. So we had a blast with that. So we were jamming out. Yeah, we were all just going hard. It was awesome. So then from there we went down and we actually got a private plane down to Rio. That's what we did. So that was pretty cool. So then after that we got settled in the Olympic Village. The first morning I woke up insanely early because I was just so wired. But then we were there for probably about a week to acclimate to everything, to figure out where everything was, get the food in our system, all that good stuff. And then it was opening ceremonies, and then the games begun.
Okay.
Game from start to finish.
We got to get into, like, I don't know about everybody else, but the opening ceremonies to me, I mean, I get teary-eyed, I get goosebumps, and to be there as a fan is one of my goals in life, but to be there as an athlete, like, just tell us, like, before, like, when you're there and all the USA team is around, and when you like, just walk us through. I can't even imagine.
So you just like meet such incredible people. So everybody congregates, everybody gets changed. Those that are walking through the ceremony. Not a lot of swimmers get to walk or want to walk because swimming starts the day after the ceremonies, and it's a lot of walking and a lot of wear and tear on your legs. Luckily, I was the 5th day, so I could go, walk, recover, and be ready to race. Michael was there because he was the flag bearer, which was fun because I got to be, so Michael and I were teammates for 2011 all the way through 2016.
Michael Phelps.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I trained with North Baltimore Aquatic Club and Bob Bowman. That was my club team, 15 and up. So I was on a group team with him. So it was really cool because I got to be his first one and my first one were the same one, even though this was his fifth games. Wow. So that was really fun to be a part of with him. And then I think there was 5 in total, and then some staff with us. And it was interesting because everybody got ready outside the village. Everybody took pictures, and then it was a bus, and then you got put into, I think it was the volleyball venue. We just sat around for a while because they had to start the ceremonies and everybody has to walk out. So then basically it's like roll call. They go by alphabetical order. Every crew goes. And so we finally started moving, and it was like, you moved like this far every 5 minutes. So lots of standing. So everybody's like jam-packed like this, like sardines, and we're all just like shuffling forward. We had boat shoes on, so those killed. But we're all like shuffling forward. And it's just like the most incredible experience because you're running into different athletes, you're taking pictures, everybody's happy, everybody's pumped, everybody's just so, so excited. And then it just slowly we like inched our way up to the opening. And then they go, okay, the country in front of us went, and then they had to like hold us back because everybody was like, we're ready. Like, we're not ready yet. So then they had Michael walk out, and then we all followed, and they kept the swimmers together. So I was at the front of the kind of surge, and the roar that came out of the crowd was insane. Like, it was one of those things where you just get goosebumps, and I just couldn't absorb it fast enough. It was such an incredible moment in my career, in my life. I will never forget it. But you walked out, and it was just like, United States of America. And it was just like, ah, like everybody went nuts. And you just had to stop and just take it all in, because it was like this moment that I have been waiting for my entire life. And I was able to be a part of it and do it. And just you watch it on TV, and it is like really intense on TV and really cool. It's like nothing else though in person. So then you walk around the stadium, and then in the middle you like circle in and then go to the middle, and then it's just basically like a giant like mosh pit of countries. Like everybody's just like running around, and it's just chaos. Because everybody's like taking pictures and everybody's celebrating and everybody's pumped, and so you're running into different countries and different nations, and it's just what everything the games are supposed to be. That's what that opening ceremonies was. It's just everybody was there to celebrate sport, to celebrate, you know, athletes, and it was just such an incredible experience.
Oh, you told that story so well. I was like, I was gonna ask all these questions, but you answered all of them, and that was so good. I do have to ask, because we talked offline about this.
Mm-hmm.
How much did it mean to have a lot of your family in the stadium when you walked in?
It was awesome. So I had my mom, my dad, and my brother and my sister-in-law were there, both in the opening ceremonies and when I raced. My little sister was a plebe at the Naval Academy, so she was unable to be there. But yeah, it was incredible because like I would look up, and it was so funny because my race in the games, I walked out, so they tunnel you out, and you tunnel out with your relay, and I just hear, "Go see!" And I turn around, it's my mom. I was like, "Hi, Mom!" Like the Olympic Games, I'm like, "Hi, Mom!" It was such a cool moment, though, to be able to turn around. It's like my family's there, and they were able to be a part of it. They were able to experience like the Olympic Games as visitors, which was really cool for them as well. But I won't forget that, though. I just hear, "Let's go see!" And I was like,
I have to admit, when I was researching you before this, I watched a couple YouTube videos, and she is very she likes to be verbal in supporting her daughter while she's holding the camera. And
my favorite is when she's at home, when she'd be at home and you watch the video, and we get videos sent of my mom videotaping the screen, and she's, "Come on, see. Come on, see. Get him, see. Go, see. Go, see." And it's just, I love it so much. It makes me laugh. And it's so funny because she's there even though she wouldn't be there in those scenarios.
Oh, that's what moms do.
That's what moms do, and I love it. I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, I think that's so cool. And thanks for opening up about all that, because
Absolutely.
I think I've never heard anything like this. I've never heard a firsthand experience of walking an Olympic stadium. And so how about a little, just because you mentioned the different countries and it's like a mosh pit, what's Olympic Village like? I mean, is it like a party? Is it like everybody's serious? You know, what's it like?
So the village is very much a village, and that's the cool part. But it wasn't like a big party zone. It wasn't, everybody was pretty much like honed in onto what they were doing. I'm sure later in the games, like when the closing ceremonies were happening, I'm sure that was a lot bigger. I flew home midway through because I had to go to school. So, but when I was there, it was pretty much like you'd sit down and you'd be like a table over from Australians, a table over from like China, you'd be a table over from England, and like everybody would just be mingling and talking. And how the cafeteria was set up is it's like 2 football fields long, essentially, with just like tables and chairs, like lunch tables and chairs. And then they have different cuisines all in the front where you can go up, you get a tray, you pick what you want, and then you go sit down. And so like you'd have like teammates that swim in the US that know each other but are representing different countries and nations sitting down, and then you have different sports sitting down. And it was super interesting because like you could tell the sports from what their body type was. Like I'd be like, "That's a gymnast, clearly." Like, "That's a basketball player, clearly." Because before that, I had only been in meets where, like worlds, where it's strictly swimmers and divers and water polo players. But, you know, it's all similar body type. But then you go to the Olympics and it's like every body type under the sun, which was really cool because it's like, it was very confusing but very refreshing at the same time. You almost like made a game out of it. You're like, basketball, gymnast, track and field. Don't know what you are, but good on you. Like, it was a lot of fun. But everybody kind of walked around, everybody wandered, everybody was taking it in, which was really cool.
Oh, that is so cool. Of course, I'm thinking some people may have thought you were basketball at 6'4".
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure. I've gotten everywhere I go. Are you a basketball player? Volleyball player? Okay. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go. I had one person ask me once if I was a diver, and I just went,
Oh man.
I'm like, what? I am 6'4", sir. Like, good gracious.
Oh, I love it. So
Yeah.
it's going amazing at the Olympics. It's the opening ceremonies are awesome. Walk us through the path to the gold medal. How the heck does this happen?
Yeah. So, day 5. So every day we were there supporting. If you had business to take care of, you went to the pool, you swam, you went home. But after you were done, or if you weren't swimming for a couple of days, Team USA was always in the stands, always, which was awesome. So like we had a little section taped off. So I was there cheering everybody on for the first like couple days, and then day 5 it was like all business. It was like, all right, here we go. And so I did my typical routine. I did everything I normally do, suited up, and then my relay met with the coaches, got the pep talk, and then we walked through. And the ready room for the Olympics is a series. So you have to go through, you have to give your identification, you give that to them, and then you go through a room, and then you go through another room. They check to make sure your cap, goggles, and suit are all legal.
Yeah.
And then you go into like the final waiting room, and then they announce your heat, you line up, and then you walk out. And so my relay was in lane 4, I believe, and we were one of the last heats. And my teammates went off, and we were neck and neck with China at the time. And I was just like, all right, like we got to set everybody up for a great finals race. We got to get ready. Like, let's go. And the competitor inside me was just like, I need to beat everybody in the pool. So I was anchor, and I just remember thinking to myself, I had a very slow turnover time. So really slow start time for a relay. But I just remember being like, I am not going to be the one to DQ this relay. I won't do it. So I had a super safe start, super safe. But when I got back to the coaches were like, good job. Thanks. And so I kind of blacked out a little bit when I swam it. It was one of those things where I was so focused. I just remember my calves cramping really bad, which was so funny. Like it's just like the weirdest things that you absorb when you're racing. But I was racing, and then the final 50, I remember just pulling ahead, and I hit the wall, and I hit the wall, like cheered with my teammates, and then I just flopped back in the pool because they had the Olympic rings up above where the starting blocks were, and I just kind of flopped, and I floated for a solid couple minutes. Probably what felt like a couple minutes. In reality, it was probably a couple seconds, but I just soaked it all in because I was like, that was amazing. Like that was incredible. It was everything I've ever trained for from 4 to 20, 16 years of training, and I did it. And I was just like, I was the last one out of the pool. My teammates would be like, Cierra, get out. I was like, but then I got out of the pool. I hugged my teammates, high fives all around. And then we walked back to our spot. I warmed down, and then the night relay, I was up in the stands, and I explained this earlier, but I'll explain it again, is because they take top 6, what they do with relays is they'll take like the bottom 4, so the ones that aren't doing an individual, and then they take the top fastest 4 from those splits and everything for the best possible relay. And in my case, I just took part in the prelims session, and the finalists were swimming for that. And that was a decision made by the coaching staff, which I fully supported, because at that point, it's just all about Team USA. And I was like, anything you guys think, go for it. Like, I swam in the Olympics. Like, I've done it. Like, I will do whatever you guys tell me to do, basically. And so I was all for the night relay. They set us up great. And ultimately we all got a gold medal out of it. So I was like, all right, that works. But when Katie anchored and Katie touched the wall, I started crying like before she had even finished, because I was like, I not only did I swim the Olympic Games, but I also got a gold medal, and I walk away with gold medal, and I walk away with all these memories. And it was just like one of those moments where it like hits you with a sledgehammer, and he's just like bawling. And I looked up at my mom, and she's bawling. My dad's crying, and my brother's. I was like, oh my gosh, this is just a moment. And it was just one of the most surreal moments of my life. Like I can't even express just how much it meant to me to be able to accomplish everything that I've ever worked for.
I don't think anyone could ever even imagine what all like 16 years wrapped up into 5 seconds of just, you can't believe this is actually happening. That had to be just like the world felt perfect for.
Yeah, everything fell into place in that moment. I was like, oh my gosh. And I count myself as one of the luckiest people in the world to have accomplished my dreams, to make it to the Olympic Games, the pinnacle of the sport, and to walk away with the gold medal. Like, goodness gracious.
Perfect. It's like
right?
So perfect. Yeah. So as you know, I'm a big rah-rah USA fan, and I will get choked up if somebody's just singing the national anthem and I'm at a ball game or whatever. I can't even imagine. What can you try to put into words when you're standing there with the gold medal around your neck, watching the American flag and the Star Spangled Banner playing? I mean, can you try to put it into words?
It's just it's an unbelievable pride that we get to represent. I think is the greatest country in the world. Like we are representing everybody in the US, and I know that everybody in the US is cheering us on and pushing us on and has our backs. And it's just such a feeling of just overwhelming pride and overwhelming joy to be able to have done this for ourselves, and B, represented the country and represented the whole population. Like it's such a feeling. And our national team director called it the national anthem is our fight song. And so that was our fight song, and pretty much every time it went off, it's just like, it's another badge of honor, it's another pride, it's another everything, it's another fight song. And it's also fun because it's like when you hear the national anthem go off like 4 events in a row, you're just like, yes, like, we're doing good. So it's so many emotions wrapped into one. It's just so overwhelming, and it's like the same feeling that you guys get at home is what we feel, and it's just in person. It's just such a prideful thing, and it's amazing.
Oh, I love it. My face is hurting because I'm smiling for the last 20 minutes. I mean, this is just, okay. So thank you for going into detail on that, because I mean, I could fire another 400 questions at you, but I mean, it's hard to say one thing, but if I asked you, Cierra, what did you learn from that whole Olympic experience? Do you have a few things that come to the top of your mind?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is just you can. To be honest, like, I put it in my mind as a 4-year-old that I wanted to make the Olympic Games. And like, you know, you're 4 years old, you don't know a square from a circle, you know, like you're sitting there like, okay, like what? And so the fact that I was able to make it to the end goal and not get to a point where I was just discouraged and didn't want to do it. And, you know, I had my bumps for sure. I had my bumps. It wouldn't be a journey without them. But I just learned that it's like, I can do what I put my mind to, like, and everybody can do what they put their mind to. It's just a matter of doing it and thinking about it and living that life that gets you to the end goal.
I love that. You can is like the quote that I love that. That is so cool. So what happens after you win the gold and you're coming back to the United States? I mean, did life significantly change after or no?
I mean, not really. I mean, my community that I come from is a super small kind of farm town area. My high school is surrounded by like farm fields left and right. And so like there was my community knew everything that was happening. I had so many people message me and text me and, you know, give support and everything while I was down in Rio when I got home. And then there was some signs up, you know, saying like, hey, good job, Cierra, like, woo. But my day-to-day life was the same, and that's okay. I actually preferred it that way because I feel like if I were to come home and it would have been this big fanfare and this big, you know, hootenanny, this big thing. I just feel like it would have not been me. I would have enjoyed it, but I don't know how I would have handled just the reaction from people. Because like people will come up to me and be like, oh, you're an Olympian. I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, yeah. Okay. And it's not because I'm not proud of what I've done. It's just because I don't like being the center of attention. And I don't like bragging about myself. I am the worst like when I have to write an email that's like, okay, tell me 10 things that like, you know, like about yourself that, and I'm like a resume, building a resume was like the hardest thing in my life. You just have to like write down all your accomplishments. I'm like, oh my God, I'm bragging. So I really enjoyed just coming home. We came home, I flew in, my mom picked me up. One of my best friends from high school actually came with her. It was so funny because she like surprised me in the airport. And I didn't know she was there, and I was grabbing my bags and I turn around and I go, oh my God, it's Cierra. Like just like in the middle of the airport, like blurted that out. So that was fun. Like I appreciated that. And then we went home, and it was funny because I got my favorite sub shop sandwiches for a celebratory little snack. And then I just watched the rest of the games at home, and I just kind of lived life at home, which was really fun and really nice to just kind of take a step back and reflect and absorb everything that had happened, and just to enjoy it. Because I feel like if I were thrown in the chaos of things, it would have just been too much. And then I saw my sister. I got to go down to the Naval Academy and see my sister afterwards. And so it was good family time, good me time, good post games time.
Oh, that's so cool. That whole thing. And I love the story of your best friend from high school being in here. And really,
it's so funny.
I got to acknowledge you, Cierra, because you have zero ego. Like you're like, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, we just started chatting a week or two ago, and to be honest, I don't think I've ever met an Olympic gold medalist before, but you're just so you, and it's awesome to see it. So I got to acknowledge you for that. So what's next for Cierra? You come back, you've now graduated college, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I graduated from Arizona State University this past semester. I got my degree, and you know, it's taking it one day at a time right now. I'm working with some clinics and coaching. Fitter and Faster is a swim clinic that I work for, and I do like a little online. It's called Fitter and Faster Fuel. So I cook online because I love cooking, and my degree is in nutrition and healthy living. So, and then I coach, and I love giving back to kids. I love giving back to the younger generation, to the kids that if I was 12 years old and I had somebody of my status come and talk to me, I would have lost my mind. And if I can instill any knowledge on them and anything, you know, help them through anything that they're going through, just give any wisdom that I have learned through my journey to these kids to make it a little easier on them. That's what I'm very passionate about, is just helping the next generation with getting through some of the bumps with those journeys. Because I mean, everybody's journey is different, and everybody's journeys have bumps. So if I can help smooth out a pretty big bump for any of the kids that I work with, I'm all for it.
I love it. Fitter and Faster Fuel on YouTube. I watched some of the videos. Very fun, entertaining, and great knowledge and information in there too. So that's very...
And it's fun because all the meals that I make are pretty much everything that my mom has made me growing up, everything that I make for myself to fuel And it just kind of comes full circle, because it's not like I'm making these crazy recipes up. It's pretty much everything I eat on a regular basis, which is really nice.
I love it. I think that's great. And I'm sure with speaking to those kids, I saw there's a video floating around out there. You're speaking at a YMCA, I think, and the looks on the kids' faces, you can just tell, I mean, you're just their hero. And it's so cool to see that. We need to get you on like the speaking circuit or something to all these schools.
I would love to. I feel like I have a story that is very relatable, and if I can make it through some of the things I've made it through, anybody can make it through. But yeah, I mean, if I can get into it, I'd absolutely absolutely be a part of it.
We might have to connect. I do a lot of speaking,
right.
So we'll talk about that. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Like it.
All right, so we're getting ready to wrap things up. I know it's sad because I want to keep Cierra here for another 4 hours, but that's okay. We'll have round 2 next year. We'll have
to do a secondary.
So I've been dying to ask you this. How I talk about a lot on the podcast, not making excuses and being accountable for your actions. And we've heard your story, which is just, I mean, it's only beginning and it's unbelievably powerful. How important has making no excuses been to you, Cierra? Because I'm sure there were days you woke up and were like, do I have to train again? You know, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So growing up, a lot of this is growing up and this is where my parents had come into such a big influence in my life, because growing up, it was always the push and pull between, am I a normal kid or am I an elite athlete? Like, it was always these dueling things. And the critical point, I will always say that this is one of the biggest turning points in my career. I was probably 12 or 13, and we were driving down to swim practice, and I was sobbing because I was super upset. I wanted to go to this slumber party, but practice conflicted with it. And my mom was like, okay, like, we're going to practice. This is what you said you wanted to do. So you're like, this is what you said. And so halfway through, she had just had enough, and she pulled over. I will never forget what she said to me, though. So she said, listen, you can't have a foot in both worlds. You can't do what you want to do and have a foot in both worlds. You can pick what world you want to be a part of. You can pick it. Whatever one you choose is fine, but you can't do this half in, half out thing, because you're not going to get to where you want to go. And so we labeled it as our new normal, or our normal. So what is your normal is one of the biggest things that I like to talk to people about, is like, what is your normal? What is what do you do that is for you that's normal? Because if you were to tell people that my life is normal, people look at you like I have 8 heads, right? My normal is not someone else's normal, but it's my normal. And so waking up every day, and there's days where you wake up and you're just like, I want to pull my hair out because I'm exhausted, I'm sore, I'm tired, I don't want to do this. And it's just, there's multiple mornings where what's my normal? This is my normal. Get up and go. And you shut up and go. But that throughout my career, my life has always been, what's your normal? And my normal is different from your normal, and that's okay. But it's just reminding myself on a regular basis, what's your normal? So that's
what's your normal? That's so good. And so your normal was, you're going to go hard at practice every single day. And then when you woke up and didn't want to do it, you thought to yourself, oh no, this is my normal. I'm going.
Yep. And it's just, it was the drive that you just pound home. It's like, what do you want? Like, there was multiple mornings where I woke up and I was like, this sucks. And it's not all, it's not all rainbows and butterflies all the time. Like, training 6 hours a day will really beat you up. And so there was days where I would go into the locker room, sob my eyes out, look at the practice again, walk out on deck and do it. And it's just figuring out, what's your normal? What are you willing to do? How far are you willing to push? What are you willing to give to make this work, to make what you want to happen work? And it all goes back to mindset. And making sure like you can do it. It's just a matter of, if you put your mind to it, what's your normal? You just have to fit your lifestyle to your normal. And so that's what got me through a lot of the days where it's just like, oh God.
I love how just real you are, and you can tell this is really what's in your mind back then and now. And I did not know you did 6 hours. I mean, was that the norm, or that was longer training days?
No, that was our schedule in 16 and on a regular weekly basis is we'll go 3 doubles. So 2-hour practice in the morning, 2-hour practice at night. And then 3 days, every other day would be singles, so 2 hours swimming. But on those single days, we'd have an hour of lifting. And on those double days, we'd have an hour of cardio.
Oh my goodness.
So we put in some work. We put in some hours in the pool and in the weight room and everywhere in between. I was running for an hour 3 days a week on top of my training in the pool, on top of my weight room schedule. So yeah, it's a lot. But it's what it took to get to where I needed to be. So it's one of those things where it's like, some days you wake up and it really sucks, and some days you wake up and everything's fine. So yeah, it was, what's your normal? And you can do it.
What's your normal? That is so good. Oh, what's your normal? And you can do it. I love that. And I'm assuming you'd have to be eating like constantly if you're training that much and you're trying to keep your weight, right?
Yeah, we did. So I did an internship with the ASU athletic department, with the dietetics department, and we did the calculations on how much I would burn throughout the day. And I think on my double days, it ended up being around 5,000 to 6,000 calories. And then on my single days, it was around 4,500 calories a day.
Oh my God.
So that's a lot of intake, but it's smart intake versus just calorie packing. And so the Olympic year, I lost probably 20 to 30 pounds just because I was training so hard and I was eating correctly. So like the balance was, I like ended up slimming down really, really well, and then just putting on some muscle. But yeah, it's all about eating right. But getting those calories while you're trying to like eat spinach is also kind of hard. So that was kind of something that inspired me, though, that and my sports dietitian that I worked with at the USOC, to be on the dietitian pathway. Because again, if I can help people figure out how to fuel their bodies and fuel their minds, like, I am all about it. So
I love that. That's I can't wait to see where that all goes. And will you keep putting out the YouTube videos for people to see?
Yeah, I actually have a conference call coming up next later today about Fitter and Faster Fuel. So hopefully we'll keep pumping them out, and I will keep coming up with recipes that are easy and fueling.
I love it. We'll have to put that in the show notes so everybody knows how to check that out, because you have the knowledge and it's fun to watch. So it's just a fun show. Well, it's time for the final 5. So this is exciting. So here's what we're gonna do. There are 5 questions they're deeper questions, but we're gonna see if Cierra can answer them in 1 to 2 sentences if possible. So
hopefully.
Here we go. I'm excited. Now, this is funny, the question to ask somebody that's in their mid-20s, but I'm gonna ask you anyways.
Okay.
How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah, these are deep. I want to be remembered as an influence to somebody.
I love it.
Whether that be a small kid or an adult, just influence somebody.
I love it. And I have a feeling you've done a ton of that, and you probably will do a ton more of that. So that's very cool. What are you most thankful for?
Most thankful for my family.
Love it. I'm really excited about this one because I've seen you dancing on some of the videos, and the question is, if I see Cierra at a wedding reception and she's dancing, what is her go-to dance move?
Much of my teammates are gonna laugh their butts off when they watch this, but I have the cheesiest dance moves ever, and it's just like I just like kind of do this. Or this at my brother's wedding, I literally just did this the entire time. Like I just hands out. Cheesiest dance moves ever. I do it on deck before practice all the time and everybody laughs at me, but I do it just for the laughs and for the kicks and giggles. But it's just like, I just like joke around. I'm like, at my wedding, this is what you're going to see right here. Like Will Smith in, I think, what is it?
Yeah,
Snitch?
Hitch. Yeah.
Hitch, there it is, yeah. And Hitch, he's just like, this is where you live, right here. That's where I live, right there.
I don't know why I pictured you like going off the rails with the
no. Oh yeah, I mean, trust me, I will show it. I will throw in a good shopping cart and a good sprinkler any day of the week.
Oh, that's so good. I love it.
Yeah.
Plus, if you're listening this on the podcast, you got to watch the YouTube video so you can see what Cierra was just doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you get the full visuals. Like that's what I go to.
Okay, what is the biggest obstacle you've overcome?
Biggest obstacle? Not having like-minded people surrounding me.
Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay, so just because I got to ask a follow-up. So if anybody has, if they have a group of friends that maybe they don't feel like they connect with, do you have advice for somebody in that situation if you have a group of,
Yeah, I found myself in situations like that a couple of times throughout my career and through my life, and just it's hard because that's your, if that's your group of people that you hang out with, but you might not be, getting better from it, benefiting from it, and that it is a detriment to you. You just have to make that decision to step away. And that can be one of the hardest decisions you will ever make. I had to do it 3 times. And it was the hardest decision I've ever made. Because in the moment, you feel like it's just not right. And it's like tearing you apart. They're your friends. You care about them, but they're not right for you. And so stepping away for the benefit of you is probably the hardest thing, but it's the best thing for you. And having like-minded people, when you have that group, you will know it and you will feel it, and you won't have that conflict of, am I being better by the people I'm surrounded with?
I mean, you've said a lot of gems in this little chat. That might have been the best thing. That was powerful. And I love how you said you may still care about them. It's not like you have to hate the person, but I mean, if you need to remove yourself, that just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's the self-awareness that it's not what's best for you. And that applies to every situation. It applies to, relationships, friendships, the whole 9 yards. Is if you have to be able to acknowledge that that's not the right place for you and that's not the right people for you. And that in and of itself is probably the biggest step. The next biggest step is just removing yourself from that situation and that group or that person. And it's so hard. It doesn't mean you have to hate their guts. You can still care for them, but you need to acknowledge that it's not for you. It's not the best for you. But that is something that I've had to fight with a lot throughout my career and throughout my life. So if somebody was in that situation, that's probably what I would say to them.
That was amazing comment. And just so everyone knows, Cierra had no idea that question was coming. You just knocked that one out of the park right there. Wow. Yeah. That was a great response. Yeah, you should take a bow. I think you should definitely take a bow. All right, last one. And you can have more than one if you want, but if I ask you, who is your hero, who would you say?
Ooh. This is like the one, like if you would sit down with somebody dead or alive, like who would you sit down? Louis Zamperini.
Who is it?
Louis Zamperini. He is he was a Olympian, and then he was a prisoner of war. If you haven't read the book Unbroken or seen the movie Unbroken, that's him. And his story, I would sit down and talk to him forever. Because I read Unbroken, and I read that through like one of those dark times where I was like figuring out myself and figuring out like, okay, like what am I doing? with these people that I still care about, like that situation we just talked about. And I read that book, and that really, really hit home, and was just like, that was where the whole like flip switch of like, you can do it, all this like brain just like, and I just latched onto that and his story, because it was so incredible. And it was like, I have gone through nothing compared to him. So I look up to him for what he went through, what he did, and who he was as a person, astronomically. So if I could like meet him, I think he passed away, but I would definitely like have dinner with him and just pick his brain for hours.
Wow, that's a great response. And that movie is one of the most powerful movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, his book, I think there's a second one. There's one or two, and then he has like a memoir. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. They are great books. He is a great just story. And it's one of those things where you're reading it and you're like, no, like it's, in a movie when like something bad happens and then another bad thing happens and then another bad thing happens, you're like, there's no way that this can get worse. And like somehow like it does, but he survives it. And it's so incredible. It's such a good book and movie.
What a great response. That was, I had no idea what to expect. And that was really cool. Unbroken. Yeah. There you go. Well, I appreciate it, Cierra. This has been, I'm just, my face seriously smiling for.
I know, it's like my cheeks.
Oh, it's so much fun. And can you tell everybody, if somebody wants to follow along, they know where to go on YouTube to watch the show, which is amazing. Yeah. What about social media? Where are you most active?
I'm most active probably. I don't really tweet. I'm not on Facebook. So most active on my Instagram, which is just my name, Cierra Runge. And if you guys watching this, if anybody feels relatable to, something I've said or something struck home, I try to be good about my messages. Sometimes I'm not too great about it, but please don't hesitate to reach out. I am very open and willing to chat if anybody connects with this.
That's really cool. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, and absolutely.
I just can't thank you enough. This has been so much fun. I got a ton of value out of it. I hope everybody listening and watching does. And thank you for your time. You're just an amazing person, Cierra.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I had a blast. This was awesome.
We'll see you in a year when we do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Round 2. Let's go.
Round 2. All right. Thanks, Cierra.
Yeah.